I don't really think of it like that. I and in your audience who are much more business savvy than I am, be kind of pulling the hair out, saying what an absolute idiot. But what I enjoy create with the people I'm working with. So in addition to the people I'm helping to give presentations or give speeches or keynotes, help people develop their leadership. That's
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Rexhen, and today's guest is Robin Bayley. Robin is a storytelling expert, a strategic communications coach, and leadership development facilitator who helps leaders around the world connect with their audiences at a deeper emotional level. Based in Madrid, Robin's mission is to guide leaders in finding the beating heart of their message so it resonates powerfully with the people they need to inspire and influence. Whether it's crafting a pitch, delivering a keynote, or motivating a team, Robin helps leaders move beyond facts and figures to create communications that truly move people to action. I'm excited to explore his approach to storytelling, emotional connection, and leadership impact. So welcome to the show, Robin.
It's a great pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure for us. So I wanted to ask you, how did this all get started? So what inspired you to become a coach and then start your own coaching business?
Well, I'd love to sit here and say, well, when I was a child, I knew I wanted to be a coach, and therefore I became a coach. But of course, things only really make sense when you're looking backwards, as Steve Jobs once famously said. The thread that goes throughout all of my career is really storytelling. So I worked in advertising, obviously storytelling, and then I worked in kids television, obviously storytelling. And then to the upset of my bank manager, decided to give all of that up, a perfectly good career, and I decided to write a book, which is essentially about storytelling. And it was when I was going around the world promoting that book that people started to come to me, and they were saying, could you help me with my story? Could you help me with my pitch? And I discovered I really loved it. And so kind of at the same time as that, because I was doing an event to promote my book, and somebody came to me after the presentation and they said, I did know this guy a little bit, and he said, could you speak at my wedding? I went, yeah, sure. He said, the person who is marrying us doesn't know us, so you know us and you can tell our story. So I turned up. It was Mallorca, and I was there, and the couple said, listen, could you have a word with the best man, because he's going to be really rubbish. And I thought, well, how am I going to start that conversation? But luckily the guy came to me. He said, could you help me? So I helped him with his speech. And then the groom came to me and said, could you help me with my speech? And then after I gave my speech during the ceremony, somebody came to me after that and they said, you've got a business here. And I set up this thing called Wedding Speech Guru, which is not something I promoted for years, but people still come to me. So I've written and kind of produced, if you like, 170, 180 wedding speeches. Never been married, but I've been involved in a lot of weddings. And there's this kind of founding quote, if you like, for that business. Remember the stand-up comic Richard Pryor? It's probably a bit before your time, but you probably know what and he, seemed like the godfather of stand-up. And people always used to come up to him, up-and-coming comics, and they say, what is the secret? And he always used to say the same thing. He said, never try to be funny. Be truthful, and funny will come. And that, as I say, became the founding quote for Wedding Speech Guru. And then for all the other stuff which I have done, it's help people get to the truth. And as you mentioned in the intro, it's what I'm interested in is the emotional truth. And I'm a leadership coach, but I'm also a storytelling coach and consultant. And I see them very much as the same thing, because if you're leading a team, leading an organization, whatever it might be, you need to be telling a really compelling story. And also, if you are giving a speech, giving a presentation, you are leading the thought processes of everybody who is in the room at the time. So I do see them as one and the same thing. And what my goal in my business is to help people connect to something that's true, which is going to resonate with the audience that they're talking to.
And you've been doing this for about more than 10 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was working in the creative industries for about 15 years, and I've been doing this for probably about 12 now, yeah, something like that.
Cool. So throughout these years, which part of the coaching journey would you say you find the most rewarding since you started doing this?
I think I think it's when you hear back, and I hear this a lot from different coaches in different ways. When you hear back from people, sometimes it's indirectly that you've had an impact. I'll give you an instance. There's a company that I do a lot of work with, and the first job I was doing with them was in Vienna about 8, 9 years ago, and I was pacing up and down, waiting for this thing to begin. And then one of the participants came up to me. She was a doctor called Marissa. And she came up to me and she's jabbing me in the chest with her finger. And she said, "This thing you're doing, it's got no relevance to what I do." She said, I'm a medic. I'm a scientist. I deal with facts. I deal with figures. I deal with data. What you do has got no relevance to what I do. And I said, "Well, you've traveled a long way to be here. So why don't we just have today as an experiment, a scientific experiment? And if you don't like it, you can go back to communication the way you always have." Anyway, the day went really well. She was pushing back the whole time, challenging me. But at the end of the day, she came back and she said, "Okay, I'm going to go back to my office and make sure everybody comes on this training," which is really, really. But a month later, I was running a similar program, one day storytelling. And at the beginning of the day, I do what I often do. I was doing what I often do. And I said, "Okay, so what does good look like? What great speeches have you heard? Who do you really admire as a communicator?" And people said the usual thing like Steve Jobs or Martin Luther King or Obama or whoever. And this one woman said, "I was at a medical conference recently and everybody was horrendously boring. They were all doing vanilla speeches. Everybody had the same charts and no one was making any movements or nobody stood out whatsoever." And then this woman came up and she had one slide, and it was a slide of a molecule completely different to what everybody else had done. And then she told us the story of the molecule. She said there were 2,000 people in that place and she had them in the palm of her hand. I said, "Oh, wow, she sounds amazing. Who's that?" And she said, "Oh, it's this doctor called Marissa." So in a month, it had come back. She didn't know that woman, but it came back to me. And I was, so that kind of thing I find that really, really rewarding. And I hear this a lot from other coaches when people come to you hear that you really made a difference. You help them make a difference to their own life, I should maybe say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Seeing that impact is what drives most of the coaches that I've interviewed. I'm not a coach myself, but I can understand that has to be one of the biggest parts of it. Is there, like, when it comes to the clients that you work with, is there a specific target audience or demographic or maybe industry that you typically find yourself working with?
Well, in terms of the coaching I do, the one-to-one leadership coaching, it can be, I've worked with people in all kinds of industries, but I tend to work quite a lot with people in the advertising industry and people in the creative industries, music, film, etc. But I also do a lot of work with people in tech, which is hilarious, really, because, there are mountain goats in the Andes who probably know more about tech than I do. But I use that to my advantage. And I say, well, I honestly, I know nothing about what you're talking about. So you've got to make me care. And that is because, if you're going to start trying to machine gun me with facts and data, I'm not going to understand. And there are obviously, I mean, I do this deliberately because there are going to be, even if it's a specialist conference, there are going to be people who have a greater or lesser understanding of what they're talking about. And if you can appeal to people, if you can resonate with people as human beings, as emotional, sentient beings, then you're halfway there, or more than halfway there, because people will remember people that they felt an emotional connection to.
Absolutely. And also wanted to, like, we touched upon this a little bit in the beginning of the, you mentioned that most of the people, when it comes to people finding you, most of them find you through your referral network. Is that right? That's where most of the audience comes from?
Yeah, LinkedIn and who have worked with me. I mean, a few years ago, I had a job in Doha, in the Middle East, and I posted a couple of pictures of me coaching some people with these wonderful, elegant dresses on, and somebody wrote to me and saying, "Oh, I didn't realize you did this. This sounds amazing. Can we meet?" And so we met for lunch, and they said, "Oh, there's somebody who I think you should work with, or should speak to at least." So it was somebody who worked for an advertising agency. So I went to meet with them, and the original idea was to work with a whole bunch of the people who are doing pitches who needed to do more emotive pitches rather than just data-driven decks. That didn't happen in the end, but because I was there, they said, "Well, that's not going to happen. But what else do you do?" And I said, "Well, I also do coaching." And so I started working with one of the board directors, one of the members of the board rather, and then the chief executive heard that I was working with this guy, so then he asked if he worked with him, and then two other people in the same, just beneath the board, they asked if I could work with them, and then the person who was working in that organisation then went to another organisation, and then her number two went to another organisation. All of a sudden, I was kind of repeated throughout the industry, and then people just come randomly. I mean, I got a call the other day to help somebody pitch to Arnold Schwarzenegger. I had somebody a couple of years ago who had to do a pitch to the ex-head of the CIA, trying to get $100 million off him. So I don't know quite how the algorithms work at LinkedIn. To be honest, I don't even do very much on LinkedIn. But whenever I put anything on there, usually some work comes from it.
And so you're sometimes, like, not very frequently, but sometimes you're posting content within LinkedIn, right?
I do a bit. I did a series of videos over the last, I don't know, 8-10 months, something like that, which people seem to really enjoy. I mean, it was somebody interesting point to me that when they hire me, I am what they're getting. I know that sounds very obvious, but it's not as if I have an off-the-shelf product that I here, Edge, and here it is. This is yours. It's something which we create together. And so if you can see me on video, and some people maybe won't be interested, but some people will. And if you are going to be interested, then this is going to get. So if you like it, then and that also was quite good at generating some business.
Where is right now the focus for the future? So do you have any goals with your coaching business for the next 1 to 3 years that you're working towards?
I don't really think of it like that. And in your audience who are much more business savvy than I am, be kind of pulling the hair out saying what an absolute idiot. But what I enjoy create with the people I'm working with. So in addition to the people I'm helping to give presentations or give speeches or keynotes, help people develop their leadership. That's I'm going off the direction I was going in there. What was your question again?
Mostly about future goals.
Yeah. Okay. So, I would say my goals are to have a greater impact on a greater number of people. So, in addition to the work that we've already talked about, so the storytelling coaching, the leadership coaching, I also teach in I'm a professor in IE Business School, which is Spain's biggest business school, and that is completely different way of working, but it's also using exactly the same skills, and you have a really bigger reach because you're working with maybe 50 students at a time. I'll give you an example. I said that I see leadership coaching and storytelling coaching very much the same way. And so the guy I was an MBA, international MBA group I was working with, and I'm getting them all to work on a story. And so this one guy said, okay, this is my story. And he said, came from Honduras, actually. He said, my business is about trust. So you got to trust me. And that was his story. So, all right, great. So what kind of journey are you going to take us on so we can come to that conclusion? We talked a little bit more and a bit more about trust. And he started talking about his mother. And this is in front of the whole class. And I was saying, this is really interesting what you're saying. I wonder, tell me, your mother is very important to you. She said, yeah, she's really important. I said, well, what has she taught you? And then he starts to tell me about the business that she started developing when she moved to the States, Honduras, and da, da, da. And I said, well, that's the story you need to be telling. Tell us the story about how you found what you now have, what you can now offer other people. And it's that story. And I think, and something which I find time and time again, no matter what work I'm doing, it's the work that I'm doing is helping people answer really fundamental questions like, who am I? And why do I do what I do? I don't know if you heard the Mark Twain quote, the two most important days of your life, the day you're born and the day you discover why. And yeah, I mean, kind of what I'm helping people connect to. What's the motivation? Why do what you do? I don't want to come all over Simon Sinek, but he's onto something. There's a reason why his career took off, because this is what he really found, and I find helping people identify to what kind of leader they want to be, and or what they communicate to their audience for whatever they're working on. It's working to the same place. This is why I offer what I offer, and this is how I can help you. And that's what I get to. So I mean, you were asking what's my future plan. I'm aware that what I just said is not a business plan, but that's my answer.
Cool. Yeah. Well, still good answer. And not all, I would say, are business savvy. A lot of coaches that I've interviewed, some of them are also after a lifestyle where they can do what they want, they can manage their time, and they can focus on doing the things that they really love and spend less time on things that they don't like, such as like maybe marketing or sales or things like that. And yeah, so I wanted to ask you, throughout these 10 years, or 12 years, sorry, what has been a good investment that you've made in your coaching business that you feel like it actually made a positive change, either an investment on yourself or maybe a coaching program, mastermind, community, anything that you've invested money on that you feel like that was very valuable?
I mean, if I could give you a glib answer, it would be a subscription during COVID. Seriously, I would say the decision to go into coaching and then, coaching training, if you're going to do it seriously, is not cheap. So that for me was a very, very good investment. It just felt like, I mean, a motivation. If you turn the question that I ask other people or get people to investigate about kind of why they do the work that they do. I guess one of the reasons why I do what I do is that I want to be good, and as a kid, I wanted to be a cricketer, and then I wanted to be a rock star, and those things work out because I did not have the skills required, and coaching of whatever stripe, where it's leadership, storytelling, what have you, I'm good at it. And I don't know why. I mean, it's like I have friends, musicians, and they say, or mathematicians, they can look at a spreadsheet and they can understand it. Well, this is, I can look at any presentation, any speech, and I know how I can make it better. Now, I have no idea where that comes from, but I found something I'm good at. So that's what I do. I want to help people in the best way that I can. And that's the way I found that I can have the biggest influence.
Is there any challenge right now with your coaching business that you're trying to solve for next?
Well, it'd be nice to make a whole bunch more money, if I'm honest. That would be good. I mean, I'm doing pretty well. And also, I do not want to be a slave to it. I mean, I have turned down enormous opportunities because I just didn't want to work that hard. I want to do work that I really enjoy. And I guess a challenge which most coaches have is how to get constant business coming through at the kind that you want. And, I mean, again, any single coach would tell you that they receive maybe 10 emails a day or messages on LinkedIn saying, hey, have you found my invest 3 minutes and get 100 whatever clients immediately, and I don't believe that. And usually, I mean, the work that I need comes as either by recommendation or just people randomly. I mean, there's a guy at the moment who is working with an Oscar-winning on a film about his life, and so he's coming out later this year, I think. So he's going to be required to do a lot of talking about it, and he's hired me to help him work out what that narrative is. And so, I still don't know actually how he found me. So again, you see, if my business coach to me, I'd be pulling my hair out going, ask that question, you idiot. But, maybe I should ask him.
Yeah, well, we found it LinkedIn. So generally we look for coaches in LinkedIn. Seems to be like where most coaches are, and it's a very important channel for a lot of coaches that are working either in the career industry or executive coaches, leadership coaches. They typically firstly or have their primary channel be LinkedIn, not measuring any of the referral network, but just saying LinkedIn in terms of like manual efforts is one of the channels that most of the coaches are. So yeah, that's where we found you.
See, it works.
Yeah, it works. And I wanted to ask you, in terms of, and this is the final question, what is an advice you'd like to give to other coaches, just like yourself, who are trying to scale their impact?
I'm not sure I've got anything particularly original to say here, but I think it's true nonetheless that if what you're doing is aligned to what you believe in, then it's more likely to develop into something more meaningful. I mean, I've worked with people, I mean, included in the leadership coaching work that I've done. I've also, part of that is obviously helping people navigate their careers, whether they're emerging leaders or whether they're at the top of the tree. And quite often I find people twisting themselves into things which they could do. And when I say, well, is this something you're really excited about? They look at me like I'm a complete idiot, go, no, I don't want to do that at all. So, well, don't do it. So that's what I mean. So that's what I would offer to people. Just don't do anything you don't want to do, and do what you do want to do. So I'm sure you're not going to find that on the first page of any business book, but it's worked for me. And I think the serious point I'd make here is that, yes, of course, think about this logically. Think about this from a marketing perspective. What is it that your market or your potential market is looking for? What are the pain points? What is it that you can deliver which would really help them develop whatever it is they're trying to develop? So of course do that. But also, what really excites you? I mean, and this is not something that's individual to me. I've seen other coaches do this as well, that you're talking to a client and they're talking and they're just giving a response, and all of a sudden they get really animated. And then you go, have you noticed you just really animated when you're talking about that? And they go, maybe that's something you need to look into. So I guess that's what I would say. Pay attention to to what lights you up.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Robin. And thank you for coming today. For anyone who wants to find you or connect with you, they can go into LinkedIn and search Robin Bayley, and they'll be able to find you. They can also go to your website, robinbayley.com, and we'll also put that into the description. So is there any other way people could reach out to you and maybe you get some extra ones coming your way?
Yeah, stop me in the street if you see me walking by.
If you live in Madrid, yeah. So cool. Thank you so much for coming, Robin. It was lovely having you on the show.
My great pleasure.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.